One of the saddest things that I see on YouTube comments and Twitter often is, I would do X activity, but I don't have any friends. Or the more cynical variations, it must be nice to have friends to play trials with, or to raid with, or any other activity that they feel they're being kept away from due to a lack of people to play with. The part that makes this really sad for me to read is that by far the best part of playing Destiny over the past 6 years or so has been all of the friends I've made along the way. Many of them I could see myself being good friends with for years or maybe even decades to come. Playing games online has created more genuine friendships for me than just about any activity that I can think of in my life. And the thing that really hurts me to read when I see comments like, I wish I had friends to play with, is that I really believe most of these people could have much more fun playing the game if they just knew how to approach meeting people the right way. See, I didn't always have a ton of people to play with. In this video, I want to tell you my own personal story of how I gained a ton of friendships through Destiny before I ever started getting into streaming or making YouTube videos, and I want to suggest some ways that you might be able to do it for yourself. So if you don't really care about my story and you just want the advice on how to grow your own gaming social circle, I'll have timestamps in the video timeline to skip right to that part. My goal by the end of this video is for you to walk away feeling like you have a game plan to make enough friends that you always have plenty of fun people to play with. So let's first dive into my story. When Destiny 1 first released, I played the game mostly with just real life friends that I had known from school. This was also my first team for the Vault of Glass raid back in 2014. However, I quickly realized the value of having a bigger network because sometimes I'd want to do a raid or a nightfall and none of my friends were available to play. So I turned to some of the early looking for group websites, or LFG for short, trying to find raid teams, and along the way I did meet a few people who are still good friends of mine to this day. But even with these occasional encounters on the LFG websites, my Destiny social circle remained pretty small. That same small group of friends was essentially the only people I knew in the game, and I played with them throughout most of Destiny 1 as well as going into the launch of Destiny 2. We all had fun with D2 in the first month or so, but then interest started to fizzle out quickly because the game was honestly just not in a really great spot, and we pretty much all stopped playing at the same time, just about when Curse of Osiris came out. When the Go Fast update released a few months later in March of 2018, my personal interest in the game returned and I really started enjoying it again. But the problem was that none of my friends actually had any interest in playing with me. Some of them even made fun of me for playing Destiny again because they thought it was still an awful game, and they just weren't interested in trying out the new update. So I started doing solo and matchmade activities, but eventually got to the point where I really wanted to play raids and nightfalls and PvP in more organized groups. So at this point, I had a new challenge to tackle. For the first time in my life, I wasn't sure how to approach it. How do you make friends in an online game starting completely from scratch? There's basically two ways to approach it. Meeting friends one at a time through LFG services and in-game chat, or meeting a lot of people at the same time by joining a community or a clan. I turned to Reddit and browsed a few subreddits like r/fireteams and r/Destiny Clan Finder. After looking at a bunch of clans that were recruiting, I finally decided to join one called Space Dogs because they seemed to have a chill community vibe, and they did a lot of raids and some social PvP events from time to time. This is one of the best decisions that I ever made in Destiny 2. Immediately, I started making a ton of new friends, many of which are still some of my closest gaming friends to this day, and have helped me tremendously in my journey of making Destiny content on YouTube and Twitch. I'm forever grateful for this group of people. So let's fast forward a few months after joining the clan when Season 3 was about to drop for Destiny 2, and they announced the new competitive glory system with the Redrix Claymore as a reward. Instantly, I just knew I had to have this gun after watching the footage. The problem though was that my clan was mostly PvE focused, doing only raids and nightfalls, and very few members were interested in the more competitive side of PvP. So now I had a new challenge. How do you actually make friends to progress in higher tier PvP, especially if you're a decent player but not exactly going to win tournaments anytime soon? I certainly met a few good people from LFG services like the big Destiny 2 LFG Discord server, but the secret weapon that's led to making friends with some insanely talented players over time was built right into the game. I would play solo queue competitive or quick play and pay special attention to the players who were doing really well and consistently topping the leaderboards. Instead of being salty and teabagging them like most people seem to do, I would instead add them as a friend and send them messages telling them things like nice snipes or nice shots. After chatting back and forth for a while, I try to group up with them for a few games, and often I'd find that we'd play really well together, despite me still being pretty rusty at PvP at the time. The thing is, even if you're not the most talented player in the lobby, you can always focus on being a great teammate. This is something that I plan to make a whole video covering in the future, but at a very high level, you can do things like being a great communicator, where you focus on making precise callouts to feed those talented players on your team with enough info to make some big plays. Spend some time watching high-level scrims and tournaments on Twitch or YouTube, and you'll see how the best players communicate. You'll quickly learn a lot about how effective communication can be incredibly helpful for your team. You can also be a great teammate by just being a really positive person to be around. Don't blame your teammates for your failings. Instead, take personal responsibility when you mess up and own your mistakes. You'd be surprised how refreshing it is to play with people who are positive and friendly, especially in the PvP side of the game. They can often be a little bit toxic. Alongside this process of making new friends one at a time through in-game messages and adding them directly, I also joined a number of Discord servers with players looking to group up for competitive PvP play. I met a ton of like-minded people on these servers who are really fun to play with, and I'd quickly get a sense of which ones I meshed with the best. Many of them are still great friends to this day, and we play PvP often. Between the PvE clan that I had joined as well as my new PvP focused friends, I was never short on teammates for just about any activity in the game. It truly makes playing Destiny so much more fun, and especially if you're a newer player to Destiny 2, I highly recommend starting to make new friends as quickly as you can. As my friend Jordan always says, it's better to dig the well before you're thirsty when it comes to growing your social circles. Okay, so in part 2 of this video, I want to share some specific resources that help me and many of my friends to grow our gaming social circles, as well as some tips on how to more easily make new friends. The first and by far most effective way to make a lot of new friends quickly is to join and get active in a new community. In gaming, this can be Discord servers, Twitch streams, or any other gaming livestream platforms for that matter, in-game clans, or even just YouTube comment sections. For example, my own community Discord has about 3,000 members, including players on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Stadia. It's a great place to meet some awesome new friends to play games with. The link to join up is discord.gg/pattycakes. You can also make friends on social media sites like Twitter and Instagram, but I think that's a little bit of a less direct way and it might be a harder path. But if you're already active on those platforms, you might as well give it a try. There are also a number of websites that can really help you out. For example, I mentioned Reddit earlier that has a few different subreddits specifically dedicated to finding people to play with. For example, r/fireteams is a great place for finding people to play general activities with, and r/Crucible Sherpa is great for finding PvP specific help. I'll link to a bunch of additional subreddits in the description, and if there's any that I miss, please let me know in the comments. There are also websites out there like the 100.io that automatically pair you with people to play games with. The resources to find people to play with are almost endless, there's really a ton of them. But I think the part that a lot of people struggle with the most is actually making friends with these new people. Gamers often tend to be on the introverted side and keep to themselves a bit, but Destiny is truly a much better experience with friends, so I wanted to give you a few tips that have helped me out along the way. Number 1 is to always focus on giving value to other people first, and know that it will come back around to you. For example, you can be the one sharing resources, praising good plays and funny moments, and generally being friendly, bubbly, and fun to be around. I promise this will come back your way when you meet the right people. Tip number 2 is to focus on being confident in your abilities, but not cocky. People believe in others who believe in themselves. It's an attractive personality trait, but you also need to find the line where it crosses over into being a jerk and be careful not to cross it. If you're struggling to build up that self-confidence to meet new people, remember that confidence comes from growing as a person and doing hard things over a long period of time to the point where they really aren't scary anymore. It's about gaining enough knowledge to know your stuff and learning through experience by getting your feet wet a number of times. This is something that I covered a bit in my video about getting into the flow state. If you like this video, you might really enjoy that one as well. I'll link to it on screen here as well as in the description. Tip number 3 is to become the center of a social hub that connects people. This one's a bit of a more advanced strategy, but it pays off huge if you're willing to do it. Tons of other gamers also struggle with not having people to play with. If you're the one always organizing groups, introducing people to each other, and generally being the host of the party, people will notice that and appreciate you for it. You'll be remembered as the person who connected them with more friends to play with. This is especially true for some of the leaders of various clans I've been involved with, as well as people who created Discord servers to organize people to play together. Tip number 4 is to get control over your emotional state. I made a whole video about controlling tilt, which is that mental state you get into when things aren't going your way and you let it totally take over your otherwise pleasant demeanor. Don't allow yourself to be the person who's always naysaying, being toxic, complaining, and overall just being a downer. No one likes being around those kind of people for long, and it's your choice to act in a particular way. Positivity is infectious and it looks good on you. So I really hope some of these tips help you make more friends while gaming. As Deej said 3 years ago, the ultimate loot is the friendships that can grow out of a game like this. And I certainly agree with him about that. If you'd like a fun and positive place to hang out, I stream each week over on Twitch, and I've made a ton of great friends with the cool people who hang out in my chat. You can catch me live over at twitch.tv/pattycakespc. As I mentioned earlier, we also have a fantastic community Discord server that you should join to meet some new amazing people. The link to join is discord.gg/pattycakes. Also, if you're not subscribed yet to my YouTube channel, I recommend subscribing and also turning on notifications so you don't miss my next video. With how YouTube works these days, even if you're not subscribed, sometimes you won't see the video in your subscription box if you don't have those notifications turned on. Take a look down in the comment section of this video and make a post about yourself and the platform that you play on most. Maybe you'll make a few friends there. So if you enjoyed this video, I recommend checking out 2 others that are kinda similar. The first one is a video I made about the flow state, that magical feeling of being in the zone while playing games or doing any other challenging activity. That's the top one listed over on the right. The other one is a video I made about controlling your emotional state and avoiding that dreaded feeling of tilt. This one might really help you out to feel just a bit happier each day. That's all for now. Catch you guys next time.